Good morning. It is Monday, September 30th, 2024. This is Robert Sin at CEO Technician on X. You can find me on co.ca at Goldfinger, and this is Goldfinger Capital on YouTube. This is a new topic I'm entering today, something I intend to explore further over the coming months. This is like the first foray into this, and by no means do I feel like I have it all figured out. Quite the opposite. Tossing around a lot of ideas, thinking about it, and I don't think anybody has it figured out, quite frankly. I hope that you, the viewer, will like and comment on this video, share your thoughts, and let me hear what you're thinking about how these next 5 years might play out and sort of how we should prepare for it. Also, of course, if you get value from this, please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel and my Substack. So everything will change in the next 5 years. A little bit attention-grabbing headline, but I believe the world will be a very different place in October 2029. And actually, a lot is going to change in the next year or so, just based upon the election in the U.S. that's coming up here very soon. So a lot's going to change in the world in terms of the economy, how humans live their lives, how people generate income, and the political landscape in the world. And quite frankly, some of it could be for the better. And some of it might not be for the better. We don't have it all figured out. So here we go. So the next 5 years, what's going to happen here in the next 5 years? Well, the big driver in the next 5 years is going to be artificial intelligence. Very clearly AI, automation, technology becoming increasingly powerful, basically growing in strength at an exponential rate. There's a lot of different macro forces in the world today, one of which is demographics, that the birth rates in countries like Italy, the UK, even the US continue to decline. So we're just not making humans at the same rate that we used to. And actually, it is this demographic downtrend that has had a lot of Western European countries encourage so much of the immigration that they've seen in the last couple of decades, right? So the idea is, well, our population is not growing, our economy is not growing at the rate we need to raise our quality of lives, to fund our government budgets, to service our sovereign debts. So we need to increase our population through immigration, right? And that has unintended consequences as well, as we're seeing throughout Western Europe. Other countries like in Africa, like Nigeria, they don't have this issue. People are having babies. People are younger. They're more optimistic about the future. They don't have a lot of immigration. In fact, they don't really have any immigration, right? So based upon which continent we're talking about, the world is a very different place, and the outlook is very different from continent to continent. In the US, North America, we basically talk about our little corner of the world. Sometimes we talk about Europe, sometimes we talk about China. But this is the trend, right? Birth rates are declining, and GDP growth is also declining. And there's a great graphic. I've kept this presentation as light as possible, because when I start adding charts and graphics, suddenly I have 75 slides, and that's not the point of this video. But basically, the more debt as we incur more debt, let's say in the US, we are generating less and less GDP growth for that debt. And it's the increase of the debt that's sustaining the economy at this point. If the US completely balanced its budget, its government budget, and there was no annual deficit, well, the economy would look a lot different and growth rates would be lower. Suffice to say, lower. Could be a lot lower. And so this situation where the economic growth is becoming increasingly challenged in the West and even in China, as we're seeing their growth rates drop and their birth rates also extremely low, and that's a whole other story. What they need to do, the governments need to do to sort of kick the can and make the debt less burdensome is financial repression. So they need to engineer nominal GDP growth and inflation above basically the savings rate or the rate of interest that they pay on the debt, right? So having that inflation above the interest rate essentially helps to kick the can and extend and pretend that much longer with a huge debt pile, right? So financial repression. So basically, to explain it, very simply, think about what interest rate you get on your checking account. So let's say you have a few $1,000s in your checking account. Well, what does the bank pay you on that? Nothing, right? And maybe some banks might pay like 0.5% or 1%. But anyway, how much has your cost of living gone up over the last 5 years? For most people, it's at least 20%. For some people, it's 30%. It might be even more than that. But basically, your money sitting in that checking account, assuming you just kept it there, a few $1,000s for the last 5 years, it didn't grow at all, but the purchasing power of it dropped by 30%. That's financial repression. That's the simplest way to explain it. And that's happening on a much larger scale. I mean, we're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about trillions of dollars, right? Pools of capital out there trying to earn above the inflation rate or at least keep up with inflation. But central banks have done a lot to try and repress those savers, right? Over the last, since basically the global financial crisis, right? We had this little period where the Fed actually got the Fed funds rate up to 5.5% for basically a year, and that was a very unusual opportunity because they actually moved the policy rate above the inflation rate, right? And that has served to really push down on inflation. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off on a tangent here, but now inflation has moderated tremendously. We're going to see the Fed cut interest rates very far over the next 12 to 18 months, probably down to 3%, but by the time that they're done with it, might even be lower because they have to engineer this financial repression. So automation, 20 million robots by 2030. There's lots of sources for that number you can find if you go look around. I'm pretty sure Amazon now employs more robots than humans. Whether it's exactly that amount now or it's going to be that in the next year doesn't really matter. The trend is very clear. More automation, more robots, less humans. AI. So this is the big thing, and this is I don't pretend like I know what the future is going to look like in 5 years, but we can use common sense and just see that there's going to be huge industries, huge swaths of the economy that are going to be disrupted, right? Humans are going to be replaced. A lot of these jobs that have existed, that exist today, are not going to be necessary. They're going to be replaced. Like, just think about like the order takers at a fast food restaurant. I mean, not really necessary. AI can do it, right? AI can do it. The robots can actually even make your food for you, right? Even so, we're seeing in like China, they have robots serving at restaurants. Now, maybe some people aren't going to like that. They're like, bring back the human. Just, bring me my food, with a human. I don't want a robot serving me. So, that's not so clear, but certainly it's possible that humans can be replaced. And then the simplest one is just drivers, right? All these human Uber drivers, right? Huge, in big cities like Miami, for example, like Houston, like Las Vegas, there's a lot of jobs that are generated from ride-sharing apps, from Uber and Lyft. Big chunk of the economy in a lot of these cities, especially tourist cities. Well, Phoenix has Waymo, right? Self-driving vehicles driving around. Cheaper than Uber. Yeah, and this is the trend. So I don't know when they're going to get rid of all the human drivers, but probably not a stretch to think 5 years from now there's going to be a lot less human drivers driving for Uber and Lyft. And so what are those people going to do, right? A lot of these drivers are either older people doing this in their retirement, or people doing this as a second job, or they are new immigrants to the country who don't speak English well, and this is one of the few jobs they can do, right? Then what for them, right? Like, then what? And this is going to be a very painful and perhaps violent restructuring of the economy. What's that economy going to look like in 2030? What do these people working at grocery stores, fast food restaurants, Uber drivers, a lot of these service jobs that were so sought after during the pandemic, we needed these people so badly, and their wages doubled or tripled during 2020 to 2022, right? Because we needed them. But now they can be replaced by automation and AI. Then what for them, right? And this is the big one. The next one is the big one. Knowledge becomes infinite. Like, I mean, it's crazy to think about, like, and we don't even know how deep this is going to go, right? But the fact that AI can give access to very specialized knowledge to anybody who just uses the AI. So whether it's scientific knowledge, medical knowledge, surgery, very detailed surgery, and even for evil things like, dare I say, bomb making, weapon construction, right? Like, AI has all this knowledge that throughout history has all been very specialized. Like, you go to the surgeon because the surgeon is the only one who knows how to fix you, right? You go to the lawyer because the lawyer is the only one who knows how to write the contract properly. You go to the bomb maker because he's the only one who knows how to make the bomb, right? But now AI has all the knowledge throughout all human history, right? And so this is very mind-blowing, right? This is really mind-blowing. But knowledge becomes infinite, and then the economic value of knowledge trends to zero because it becomes ubiquitous. It's abundant. Everybody has the AI. Everybody has the knowledge, right? And it just keeps getting better and better and better through time, right? It doesn't get worse, it just gets better. So all of these knowledge workers, all these people going to school, medical school for 10, 12, 15 years, lawyers, taking the LSAT, taking the bar exam, it's mind-blowing, right? I'm not saying that humans become worthless. Obviously, you do need that person to sign off on certain things and have their certification on certain documents, but AI is going to be as good or better than even the most specialized human in 5 years, right? So that it's unknowable how this plays out. But clearly there's going to have to be a lot of government regulation on all of this, or else suddenly everybody is out of work. And AI is just everything. And AI is free. AI is, ubiquitous. It's abundant. And no human has any value. I don't know. It's pretty wild. But anyway, a huge disruption is playing out and is going to play out at an accelerating pace over the next 5 years, in my opinion. Efficiency and productivity expands massively. So the negatives are there's going to be a lot of people out of jobs. It's extremely negative. We don't know how the economy is going to handle that, how it's going to have to transform itself, what that's going to look like, how painful that will be, what role does the government play in that. This is just unknowable at this point. And a little bit of a tangent, but our two presidential candidates, Trump and Harris, they're going to be very integral in this transformation over the next several years. Do you think they're equipped for what they're walking into? Just don't answer that. Neither of them are, right? But efficiency and productivity expands massively. So suddenly, everything can be very precise. I can get my ride exactly when and where I want it, take me to where I'm going very cheaply. My order at the restaurant is exactly right. The waiter doesn't forget because he's texting on his phone, right? And the AI can write the contract exactly to my specifications, right? The AI can build the mine. It can generate the mine plan and perfectly engineer it, right? I mean, that's in theory, like once it gets so good, right? But efficiency and productivity expands massively, right? So that's good. That's good for the economy. Costs drop, speed goes up, more economic output per dollar invested or per unit of energy or however you want to measure it. But the negative side is deflation, right? The labor costs drop. Remember, the big part of the 2022-2023 inflation burst was services costs, wage growth. Like, people didn't want to work. They couldn't work in some areas of the world, and suddenly we needed all of them and then some. But they wanted to work on OnlyFans or travel the world and video blog or whatever the hell everybody got in the bee in their bonnet in 2021 during the pandemic. Suddenly the labor force shrank and we needed more. Like we couldn't even keep it the same size. We actually needed it to grow and it didn't, right? And so then the cost of everything went way up. We had all the supply chain issues. The 2021 and 2022 inflation largely had to do with the services side of the equation, the supply side secondarily, and then fiscal stimulus was probably third. Although a lot of the gold bugs say it was money printing. Not really. Sorry, I'm going to argue with you on that. But deflation is coming. Not even low inflation. It's going to be outright deflationary. Nuclear energy, like, look at what's happening in nuclear. Like, we can all agree that AI is a powerful trend. It might be the most powerful trend of our lifetimes. While the AI data centers require hugely more power than any other data center that has existed throughout history. An AI query is 17 times more energy intensive than a Google search. These data centers require like 5 to 10x the amount of copper. I don't know. It's complicated, but clearly the big tech companies like Microsoft, like Meta, like Apple, like Google, they are investing in energy, and they're clearly on board with nuclear energy. The nuclear energy trend is secular. It's not cyclical. This is something that's here to stay for a very long time. Nuclear energy ramps up globally. Well, that's good because it creates enormous amounts of stable baseload power at lower cost. The more nuclear power plants we build, the lower the cost of energy on average. will be for the entire population. That's bullish, right? So productivity enhances, efficiency enhances, and the cost of power as we get better at building nuclear power plants, as the nuclear grid gets built out, solar grid as well, right? The cost of energy trends lower. That's very bullish. That's very bullish for the economy, and that's probably bullish for a lot of corporate profits, right? But on the flip side, so suddenly you have entire industries being wiped out, for lack of a better term. I mean, massively altered, shrunk. So, both, and this is why this next election matters and doesn't matter. It's kind of interesting. It definitely matters, but both candidates are have very populist views on a lot of things, and they will not shy away from promoting social safety nets. And so as millions of people get laid off due to AI and automation, populism will ramp up even more. And we're going to have a universal basic income. We're going to have free health care. Populism is going to grow. It's only going to become more prominent as people feel increasingly vulnerable. They're really worried about their personal financial future. They don't know what their next year of income is going to look like, right? It's going to become very uncertain over the next few years. I mean, that's the way I see it. So the more money that's redistributed and basically given away just for existing, the more the currency will be debased, right? Central banks will try to counter the deflationary trend. Politicians will give away more entitlements because that's what they're doing, right? Both Trump and Harris are populists in a lot of ways, and they will pander to the masses. So currency debasement is absolutely going to be a characteristic of these next 5 years. And I totally see the Fed cutting interest rates very low and restarting quantitative easing. They just cannot do anything else but that. They have to help the Treasury finance itself. And so the sanctity of the currency becomes violated, right, as populism takes hold. We've already seen that. Probably some people say, well, it's already been violated. Well, you ain't seen nothing yet. Okay, it's coming. So when people no longer have full faith in the sanctity of the currency and its ability to keep its purchasing power, even for a year, then they're going to transfer all of their wealth, everything they can, into real assets. And AI cannot remove the need for real assets, natural resources, land, right? Metals. Like, these are the things the world is built on. Steel. And surely, like, our health, right, is going to, and this is mental health. Like, as the world which we know changes so much, and we are unsure of our place in this world, this AI robot world that we're entering, mental health is going to become an increasingly important topic, right? And so human connection, spirituality, and human health, those cannot be lost due to AI, right? They will only become more important and more valuable. I think Bitcoin will also benefit, absolutely. Store of value, basically the underpinning of, electronic transactions, and just a total global wealth expanse. I think on net, AI and automation will accelerate the expansion of global wealth, but it's unclear who the big beneficiaries are. I mean, Is Nvidia going to become $100 trillion company? Is the government going to allow that? Are the people going to allow that? Because that's clearly the trend here, right? And I think just the early adapters of AI, tech savvy countries like the US and China, they will be the winners because they're there first. They have the best AI, and they have the corporations that harness the AI most efficiently and effectively to the largest segment of the population, right? Yeah, and I mean, this story from last week, if nothing else, I mean, this tells you they are restarting 3 Mile Island, right? This is the nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania that had a borderline meltdown in the late 70s, right? This was hugely negative for the nuclear industry. There could not be a more bullish story for nuclear energy than this one. Microsoft, basically the largest company in the world, is hungry for this energy, this nuclear energy, massive amounts of energy that it can generate at relatively low cost, that they're willing to restart this power plant that has a stigma to it, right? It has a history to it. There could be nothing more bullish. Like, this is the revival, renaissance of the nuclear power industry in the US, right? The unintended consequences are just too numerous to possibly list. It's just unknowable. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this as a viewer, but humans become less necessary, like in this automated AI world. And maybe for some that's good because they can just go live their lives la-di-da and not be bothered, and the AI might just help their quality of life and do the things they want to do. But for some other people, it could make things very difficult, right? Because their skills and their contributions suddenly are not as valued by the world, right? Obviously, our spirituality will always be there. Our DNA, our skin, physical touch, our emotions, our senses, right? Like, this cannot be replicated by AI, at least not yet. I mean, maybe we're going there too, but I don't really want to talk about that in this conversation. But yeah, I think connection, so human connection, yoga classes, other forms of connection in groups, spirituality, like, I don't know, going to church might become even more sacred to a lot of people, right? And just a lot of questions, like, what happens to the economy when transportation becomes so cheap and available, labor becomes so cheap and ubiquitous, and deep knowledge and insights just becomes freely available to anyone, right? These are very profound questions, and I don't think we have the answers to them. But my sense is, what is real and unalterable will only become more valuable. So what is real, finite, unalterable, like gold, is not going anywhere. It's only going to become more valuable and more sought after. And as populism ramps up, and as financial repression ramps up, gold will only become more valuable when priced in that debased fiat currency. Positives, I think the world will become a lot more efficient. Quality of the average human life will probably go up. Productivity will improve, and cost of goods and services will be moderate, right? Like, that's great. People will stop complaining about inflation. But the negatives are, a lot of industries will vanish. A lot of people will be without a job. The winners will become far fewer, I think, like in this new world, 5 years from now. Like, if 5% of the economy are winning today, I think it'll be 0.5% or 0.05% in 5 years, okay? Vast majority, I think, are losers in this new economy. And that's what becomes complicated, because it's the populace that has the votes that can elect the president and the senators. How will that play out, right? We probably start looking more like Latin American countries, is my sense, okay? And we don't know how AI can be used by evil actors, right? And that's surely going to happen, whether it's for war or cyber terror attacks, financial frauds. Like, for sure, AI is going to be harnessed by the evil who are among us, right? And I'm going to end it here, because, again, there's going to be more videos on this, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. But the bull market sectors that I see, mental health therapies, like, you guys see when you walk around today how many people are just, they don't exist in the physical world. They are just on their phone, completely enthralled by whatever they're scrolling, whatever comments they're reading on Instagram or whatever it is. They're not really here, right? And even in the gym, like, you go to the gym to work out, people are on their phone. They're not lifting weights. They're not doing it. They're just on their phone. It's not healthy. Like, this is happening very fast. Like, I don't remember it being quite like this a few years ago. We're more disconnected. We're more unhappy. We're lonelier. And AI is only going to serve to make this even worse, I believe. Right? So mental health mental health therapies, whether it's therapists or drug candidates or whatever, that's a bull market. That is a huge bull market. Hard assets, land, buy yourself some land, natural resources. He who has the resources maintains their place in the world, no matter what. Real estate, get yourself a house. Bitcoin. So gold, Bitcoin, real estate, natural resources, land. Those will not be removed or eliminated by automation and AI. I'm very confident in that. Gold bull market is alive and well. The near term, gold could fluctuate. It's gotten a little overbought recently. It could certainly pull back, but bigger picture, this bull market is alive and well. And I think the mining industry is a huge beneficiary of AI and automation. It will make the actual process of mining way more efficient, less costly, less labor intensive, safer. And I could go on, but I believe that this is very bullish for the mining industry, and specifically the copper mining industry, because of how much copper AI consumes. And as we build out this power grid to reduce the average price of energy to everyone, it's just going to require that much more copper. So, while there could be some technology that could make copper super easy to extract from waste piles 10 or 15 years from now, I don't even know. In the near term, I'm talking about the next 5 years, I think the outlook for copper and copper mining is extremely bullish. So these are my areas of focus. Not interested in really going anywhere else. I'm pretty clear that these are the places I want to focus, where I want to invest, and I want to help you to understand where you want to invest in these sectors. Yeah, so here's BHP is using Caterpillar's dynamic energy transfer system on its diesel, battery electric and diesel mining trucks. And then just the fact we can have robotic drill helpers, robotic drills where it's completely autonomous. You don't even need a human to do the drilling. And there's so much more. There's so much more stuff like this that's happening in the mining industry, where it's being transformed by automation, and AI is certainly just in the early stages of helping us make new discoveries in the mining industry. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for your time and tuning into this. I really want to hear your thoughts and ideas in the comments section. And until next time, have a powerful trading week.